The Moro River Campaign was an important battle of the Italian campaign during the Second World War, fought between units of the British 8th Army and the 76th Panzer Corps of the German 10th Army. Lasting from 4 to 26 December 1943, the campaign occurred primarily in the vicinity of the Moro River in eastern Italy. The campaign was designed as part of an offensive launched by British General Harold Alexander with the intention of breaching the German Winter Line defensive system and advancing to Pescara, and eventually Rome. Beginning on 4 December, 4 infantry divisions, 1 British, 1 Canadian, 1 Indian and 1 New Zealand, and 2 armoured brigades of the 5th and 13th Corps attacked heavily defended German positions along the Moro River, achieving several exploitable bridgeheads by the 8th of December. Throughout the next week, nearly continuous combat operations by both sides, designed to keep one another pinned down, created stagnated defensive positions near Ortona and a narrow pit known as the Gully. After being held at the Gully for 10 days, the 1st Canadian Infantry Division succeeded in outflanking German defences and forcing a withdrawal to the Ortona-Ortona line. On 20 December, the line was attacked by both corps. By 26 December, strong German defences had stalled Canadian forces in Ortona and British and New Zealand forces in Ortona. Although both Ortona and Villa Grande were captured by the end of December, general exhaustion among the Allied forces prevented the capture of Ortona and an advance to Pescara. When harsh winter weather set in, it became clear to the Allied generals that no further progress would be made, and Alexander called off the offensive. Background: in late 1943, the Allied armies in Italy under General Sir Harold Alexander were fighting their way northward in Italy against determined German opposition, commanded by Field Marshal Albert Kesselring, whose forces had prepared a succession of defensive lines. East of the Apennine mountain spine was the British 8th Army under General Bernard Montgomery. In October, 8th Army had crossed the Bifano River and pushed the German defenders from the Volturno-Victor line defences. Delayed by logistical problems, they were not able to attack the next line of defences behind the Trinure River until 2 November. However, by 9 November forward elements of 8th Army were in contact with the forward defences of the German Winter Line, which had been set on the high ground north of the Sangro River. The main attack across the Sangro by British 5th Corps, comprising the British 78th Infantry Division and 8th Indian Infantry Division with supporting and diversionary attacks further inland by 2nd New Zealand Division and British 13th Corps, was delayed by bad weather until late November. After several days of hard fighting, the Germans withdrew to the defences they had prepared on the high ground to the north of the Moro River. Offensive strategy and order of battle. The Moro River runs from the central mountain spine of Italy to the Adriatic coast south of Ortona. The German defences on the Moro were a centerpiece of the Winter Line, which guarded the eastern side of the Apennines along Route 5. Montgomery hoped to punch through the Winter Line, capture Ortona and Pescara and advance to Rome. The 78th Infantry Division, which had been spearheading 5th Corps since the Volturno Line actions and had sustained over 7,000 casualties in less than 6 months, was relieved by the fresh 1st Canadian Infantry Division, ready to renew the offensive on 5 December 1943. The 78th Infantry Division was sent into the mountains on the relatively quiet left wing of the army, joining the British 5th Infantry Division under 13th Corps. Montgomery's plan was for the Canadian Division to attack across the Moro in the coastal lowlands to take Ortona first and then Pescara, inland, in the jagged hills above the headwaters of the Moro. The relatively fresh 2nd New Zealand Division would attack toward Ortona, while between these two the 8th Indian Infantry Division would hold the center of the front in a relatively static role. Facing 5th Corps was the 1st Parachute Division under Brigadier General Richard Heydrich on the coast. To their right stood the 90th Panzer Grenadier Division under Major General Karl-Heinz Lungershausen, succeeded by Colonel Ernst Gunther Bader on 20 December, and further inland of them was the 26th Panzer Division under Brigadier General Smilo Fryer von Luttwitz with their right flank on Orsogna. Further inland, facing 13th Corps, was the 65th Infantry Division under Brigadier General Helmuth Pfeiffer, supported by elements of 1st Parachute and 5th Mountain Division under Brigadier General Julius Ringel. Together, these units formed Trauert Heer's 76th Panzer Corps, the part of Joachim Lemelson's 10th Army responsible for the front line to the east of the Apennines. Canadian Division across the Moro. On 6 December 1943, Canadian forces began a series of large-scale assaults on major crossing points along the Moro River with the objective of securing a large bridgehead along the defensive line. 3 primary points of attack were chosen: Villa Rogati, along the western edge of the Canadian sector, San Leonardo, 5 kilometers south of Ortona, and San Donato, a small town near the Italian coast. 5 primary infantry battalions were selected to assault these positions with the objective of crossing the Moro River. The offensives were scheduled to start on the morning of 6 December. Villa Rogati. The task of taking Villa Rogati, the westernmost crossing point, was given to Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry. Having conducted reconnaissance on their objective during the night of 5 December 1943, an attack plan was devised by the battalion's commander, Lieutenant Colonel Cameron Bethel-Ware, detailing the objectives of all 4 rifle companies. Once the objectives had been secured by the early morning of 6 December, Anglo-Canadian reinforcements were to be moved into Villa Rogati, with the intention of repulsing the expected potentially strong German counterattacks. Elements of 3 German regiments, the 200th and 361st Panzer Grenadier, and 26th Panzer, maintained strong defences within the town. At 0000 on 5 December, 2 companies of the PPCLI crossed the Moro River, moving towards Villa Rogati. Within an hour, vicious fighting had erupted throughout the town as the 2 companies of Canadian infantry struggled to break the German defensive lines. As B Company broke through the German defences, a company attacked to the northeast, continuing to engage 200th Panzer Grenadier Regiment near Villa Rogati. Although 2 Canadian infantry companies now occupied Villa Rogati, German Panzer Grenadier forces still maintained substantial defences on the outskirts of the town. However, C Company continued to advance steadily along the eastern side of the town, encountering significant resistance from the 361st Panzer Grenadier Regiment. After approximately an hour of fighting by C and D companies, Villa Rogati had been occupied by Canadian forces shortly before dawn. By mid-morning, German counterattacks on PPCLI positions in the town had begun, involving tanks from the 7th Company of the 26th Panzer Regiment, field guns and substantial infantry forces. Throughout the afternoon, 2 infantry companies of the PPCLI fought off several attacks by German forces, eventually managing to push them back to the vineyards on the northern edge of the town. While the PPCLI had taken 68 casualties, German casualties were estimated at 120. Karl-Ware was advised to be ready to withdraw across the Moro River, should German forces counterattack, in order to allow the Canadian Division a greater concentration of force. On the night of 7/8 December, the Indian 21st Infantry Brigade from the Indian 8th Infantry Division amalgamated the western flank of the 1st Canadian Division into their own lines. As a result of the withdrawal, Canadian efforts would focus on achieving a bridgehead at San Leonardo. San Leonardo. The Canadian attack on San Leonardo by the C5th Highlanders of Canada began late on 5 December 1943 with A Company establishing a bridgehead across the Moro, taking heavy casualties. In the early morning of the 6th of December, a company was withdrawn and 2 additional C5th companies resumed the offensive. As PPCLI secured and held their bridgehead over the Moro River, the C5th Highlanders were struggling to enter San Leonardo. By 7:15, a single objective had been taken, with Canadian units pinned down by well-coordinated defensive fire from several companies of the 361st Regiment. Simultaneously, small arms fire prevented C Company from moving up the road from the Moro to San Leonardo, while D Company remained on the southern banks of the Moro throughout the early morning. In the afternoon, having failed to capture San Leonardo, the Hastings and Prince Edward Regiment sent 2 rifle companies to the aid of the C5th Highlanders, as C5th B Company attacked positions west of San Leonardo, inflicting 129 casualties on German forces in the area. However, the attack on San Leonardo by 3 C5th companies stalled rapidly when the 26th Panzer Regiment's armoured companies reinforced the sector. As a result, Foreign was ordered to prepare for a withdrawal from the San Leonardo bridgehead. San Donato, while attempts were made to cross the Moro at San Leonardo and Villa Rogati, the Hastings and Prince Edward Regiment launched an attack on the Moro River defences at the small coastal hamlet of San Donato at 13:40 on 6 December. However, the single rifle company making the attack achieved little territorial gain, and Lieutenant Colonel Kennedy, commander of the Hastings and Prince Edward Regiment, ordered a withdrawal at 15:40. Throughout the 6th of December, strong German coastal defences would prevent further advancement, despite the incorporation of tanks and artillery into the assault. By nightfall, the German defenders still possessed control of San Donato, with the Hastings and Prince Edward Regiment withdrawing to the southern bank of the Moro River. Taking the Moro on the 8th of December 1943, Major General Vokes devised a new plan for taking the Moro River, while the 48th Highlanders of Canada and Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry resumed the assault on San Leonardo from the southwest side of the town. The Royal Canadian Regiment would break out of the bridgehead created by the Hastings and Prince Edward Regiment, then move southwest towards San Leonardo to link up with the 48th and PPCLI. The operation was scheduled to start on the afternoon of the 8th of December. The attack began with a massive artillery barrage which pounded German positions continuously for 2 hours. At 1600, the Saskatoon Light Infantry Support Battalion joined in, hitting German positions with bursts of machine gun fire. The moment the heavy bombardment lifted, the 48th Highlanders and the RCR both initiated their attacks. D Company of the 48th Highlanders was able to quickly cross the Moro, taking minimal casualties. However, B Company was subjected to heavy fire from German mortars and 88mm artillery positions. Eventually, however, both companies managed to establish strong positions on the western ridge overlooking San Leonardo. During the night of 9th December, units of the Royal Canadian Engineers constructed a bridge over the Moro, to allow armour and equipment to move into San Leonardo the following day. As the 48th Highlanders secured their positions west of San Leonardo, the Royal Canadian Regiment was involved in intense fighting southwest of San Donato. 2 companies had advanced against strong and well-prepared German defences of the 200th Panzer Grenadier Regiment. A company was quickly tied down by German mortar fire, while B Company flanked German positions to the north of San Donato. By nightfall, all 4 companies held tenuous positions in the thick of German defences. On the night of 9th December, the RCR was subjected to counterattacks by the 200th Panzer Grenadier Regiment, which were repulsed with the support of continuous Canadian artillery shelling. By the morning of the 9th of December, the RCE had completed the bridge across the Moro River, enabling the tanks of the 14th Armoured Regiment to transport 2 companies of C5th Highlanders across the river into San Leonardo. By mid-morning, San Leonardo had been cleared of German defenders, although strong positions still existed outside of the town. Within an hour, the cavalry's tanks had broken through German positions near Stirling Castle, and two companies had linked up with the 48th Highlanders and Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry within San Leonardo, finally establishing firm Canadian positions across the Moro River. Near the end of the 9th of December, German forces of the 90th Panzer Grenadier Division fell back to their second defensive line, a formidable obstacle known as the Gully attacks on Ortona. While Canadian crossed the Moro River, the New Zealand Division launched a two-brigade attack, Operation Torso, against Ortona at 14:30 on the 7th of December. The division had the British 2nd Independent Parachute Brigade under their command, anchoring their left flank, and were supported by heavy concentrations of artillery and air support. Surprise was achieved as Troward Hare, the commander of 76th Panzer Corps, had been persuaded that the New Zealanders would not be in a position to launch a major attack until the 8th of December. Initially, the New Zealand attack progressed well, but the German defenders regained their composure and the attack lost momentum against heavily fortified defensive positions. By 2100, the NZ 24th Infantry Battalion had fought its way in slow house-to-house fighting to the centre of the town, but were pinned down with no prospect of further progress without significant armoured support. However, a combination of concealed minefields and well-dug-in German armour made the task of the Allied tanks impossible. In the early hours of the 8th of December, the New Zealand commander, Bernard Freyberg, ordered a withdrawal from the town with a view to renewing the attack after further softening up from artillery and bombers. Indian Division across the Moro, the Impossible Bridge, with both the Canadian and New Zealand divisions finding progress difficult. It was decided to bring the Indian 21st Infantry Brigade into the attack with orders to seize cavalry. With no river crossing available, the Indian engineers rushed to build a bridge across the Moro, which was completed on the 9th of December and allowed infantry and supporting armour to cross and expand the bridgehead on the far bank. The bridge was named the Impossible Bridge because the local geography required for it to be built backwards from the enemy bank of the river, the Gully. Initial attacks following the loss of San Leonardo and the Moro River, the 90th Panzer Grenadier Division withdrew to a primary defensive line 5 kilometers north of San Leonardo. The line centered around a natural ravine known as the Gully, with an average depth of 200 feet. General Vogt's initial plan to take the position consisted of a frontal assault by the 2nd Canadian Infantry Brigade, which would seize Vino Ridge, capture the Gully and gain positions on the Ortona to Ortona Road. However, German defences were adequately prepared, including gun pits, bunkers and shelters. On the 10th of December, 3 Canadian battalions made their first attempt to cross the Gully. Although they succeeded in capturing Vino Ridge, directly south of the Gully, attempts to neutralize German positions in the ravine were unsuccessful. On the 11th of December, the 3 battalions made another attempt, with the Loyal Edmonton Regiment suffering heavy casualties in their attempts to take German positions in the sector. Although a badly mauled A Company was able to gain a foothold on the reverse slope, newly arrived German units forced the remaining men to withdraw. On the 12th of December 1943, General Vogts sent the 3 battalions of the 3rd Canadian Infantry Brigade against German defences in the Gully. The assault started poorly, when Canadian artillery plans were captured by soldiers of the 90th Panzer Grenadier Division's 200th Regiment. By 1400, the regiment had called off its attacks and had taken heavy casualties. To the west, Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry fared little better, with C Company taking heavy casualties in their assault. Attempts were again made on the 13th of December, by 2 battalions of the 3rd Canadian Infantry Brigade, and the attacks were driven back by tenacious German resistance. On the evening of the 13th of December, The heavily depleted 90th Panzer Grenadier Division were relieved from their positions in the Gully by units of the 1st Parachute Division. Casa Berardi. By the 14th of December, Vokes had devised a new assault plan for taking the Gully. A small force from the Royal 22e Regiment would move to Casa Berardi, a small set of farmhouses west of the Gully, before outflanking German positions with infantry and armor, thereby forcing the 1st Parachute Division to withdraw. The attack was to begin at dawn, with 2 companies of the Royal 22e Regiment attacking Casa Berardi with artillery support. By 7:50, both companies had control of the lateral highway leading to Casa Berardi. C Company, under Captain Paul Triquet, pushed on toward Casa Berardi with support from the Ontario Regiment, while D Company found itself involved in firefights southwest of Casa Berardi. At 8:30, C Company began their assault toward the manor house in Casa Berardi, some 2,000 yards away. Strong German defenses caused heavy casualties to the attackers. Only 21 men and 5 tanks made it to within 200 yards of the objective. Despite the arrival of several Panzer IVs, Triquet's remaining forces captured the manor house at 14:30. However, only 14 men of C Company remained fit to continue fighting. For his efforts to capture Casa Berardi, Triquet was awarded the Victoria Cross.